you're like me and you're someone who suffers from extremely low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, and is just someone overall who still hasn't figured out where they're going in life, what they want from life, who doesn't really know who they are, who maybe has never really known who they are, you are probably very susceptible to something that I have been susceptible to, and that is this concept of a fantasy self. Now, there have been a lot of videos on YouTube done about this, and if you haven't seen them all, you should go watch them all. A fantasy self is essentially a version of yourself that is anything that you want it to be that you're not. It's a version of yourself that's more confident. It's a version of yourself that's richer. It's a version of yourself that has more friends. You know, it's a version of yourself that has achieved more in life. It's a version of yourself that's more interesting. And it's kind of sad to examine your fantasy self a lot of the time. You know, we all aspire to be somebody a little bit better, a little bit different. And the one common denominator about all of these kind of these factors that go into constructing your fantasy self is that more often than not, they involve material possessions, and they involve an awful lot of material possessions. Material possessions are by and large the way that you achieve your fantasy self, and the way that you essentially express the version of yourself that you want to be. I have spent years decluttering my fantasy self before I even knew what this concept was. I mean, I look back at the stuff over the years that I have given to Goodwill, and it is just, it could probably fill this whole room. I don't even know if I'm joking. I mean, clothes. I look back at old photos of myself and, you know, just the clothes I used to own, the dresses, you know, the sports equipment, the makeup, I mean, all of this stuff, and I no longer have any of it. And I think about, you know, the money that I wasted on that stuff, and I could have put a deposit on a house with that by now. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And even although I know better than to continue to construct this fantasy self, I still do it. You know, as recently as last week I did it. You know, I buy stuff that I know doesn't work for me, that I know isn't going to suit me, that I know is not going to gel with my lifestyle. And lo and behold, you know, after a couple weeks or months, it gets chucked in the Goodwill pile. So I have a list here of, I guess you would call them categories of my own personal fantasy self. And I have a ton of stuff that I'm sitting in the middle of right now, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to put it in that Goodwill pile or that Etsy pile to sell. We are going to get it out of our lives and just move on. So I guess the one I should probably start with the most is health. So fantasy me is a really, really, really awesome, healthy raw foodist. Oh my gosh, I am like the biggest raw foodist in the world. I have a Vitamix, I have a blender, I have a spiralizer, and I use them every day. Well, hang on a minute. I don't know if you can pick up the dust on this thing. It's got like half an inch of dust on top of it. This is my Breville juicer. I bought this a couple of years ago after watching that Joe Cross movie. I forget the name of it, but it's the movie about the juicing. It was a really awesome movie. You know, I picked this up, I tried really hard to juice because fantasy me juices every day. Well, the reality is, real me doesn't juice every day. Real me hates juice. Real me is stuck in this really ridiculous phase of arrested development where she doesn't like weird textures. And the thing about juicers is that the juice that they produce is really kind of gritty and sedimenty, and it's almost like drinking medicine. You know, I will happily eat an apple. I will happily chop up a carrot and put it in the salad. But you put an apple and a carrot into one of these and try and make me drink it, and I practically have to hold my nose. That's how much I don't like it. And yet I have kept this thing for years because fantasy me is going to use it every day. And I've finally come to the conclusion that I've had this thing since I think 2013. It's probably time to let it go. So we're going to say bye-bye to my fantasy self that juices every day, and this is going to go in the Goodwill pile. Hang on a minute. I'll lob it over there. There we go. Okay. Similarly, spiralizer. Fantasy me spiralizes courgettes every single day for dinner. Aubergine, squash, carrots. Yeah, I'm just the spiralizing queen. No, this is going to Goodwill because real me, I don't really like the taste of spiralized stuff. If I'm gonna eat pasta, I would really rather eat real pasta. So again, Goodwill, bye. Okay, kind of tied into this, fantasy me, meal preps, yay! This is about 1/5 of the Tupperware that I own. The other 4/5 are still in my closet. I put this in my Goodwill pile, and you know, fantasy me meal preps. You know, fantasy me, you know, they do CrossFit and they meal prep and da-da-da, and it's awesome. Real me makes 1 meal a day. Real me goes to the supermarket every single day. I have a supermarket just a block or 2 from my house. I go and pick up ingredients every day. Real me often makes a salad for dinner every day, and believe me, you don't want a meal prep salad. It's not going to turn out good. And yet I just continue to hold on to this Tupperware. It takes up so much space. Again, this is 1/5 of what I own. And no matter how much I downsize, I just can't seem to part with my Tupperware. And the reason I can't seem to part with my Tupperware is because fantasy me actually uses it every day. Fantasy me has a fridge full of meal prepped couscous and baked yams and grilled something or others. And it's just not really my life. And so it's time to say goodbye to my Tupperware. You know, it's funny, out of all the things that I am decluttering as part of my fantasy self declutter, it's so interesting. I think the Tupperware is like the hardest to get rid of. It's so weird. You would think it would be the expensive Vitamix that I got rid of 2 months ago, or the, you know, the blender, or the juicer, but it's actually like just the cheap Tupperware. I didn't even spend a lot of money on this. It's not even like I can justify keeping it because it was expensive, but I think this is just such a huge facet of the life that I wanted to lead, but that I'm not leading. And so it's really tough to get rid of this, but it's barely, if not ever, used, and it will go to someone who will use it. I will actually probably just, I don't know if Goodwill takes Tupperware, we'll see. If they don't, I'll put it in a free box and one of my neighbours will use it, I'm sure. Okay, what's next? Okay, I got one right here. Oh yes, fantasy me reads books by various members of the world's intellectual activist population. Noam Chomsky, awesome. I've had this book now for 2 years and I've barely made a dent in it. Do you want to know what I've been reading instead? Oh, I know you do. Written in Blood by Caroline Graham. If you've ever seen the TV series Midsummer Murders, Midsummer Murders was written by Caroline Graham, and I think she wrote 5 books, and I think 3 or 4 of them were turned into episodes in the first season, and actually the pilot episode too was a Caroline Graham book. And she's a really awesome writer. She's very observant about just the quaint English village life, and you know, all of these very socially respectable people going about their business who are actually crazy, you know, mass murderers. And Written in Blood is about a writers group in, I forget if it's Midsummer Worthy, I think is where it's set, and they're all getting bumped off one by one, and Inspector Barnaby has to find out who the killer is. Yeah. It's a bit of an intellectual difference there in terms of the intellectual heavyweightness. I'm gonna keep this book. I'm sure I'll get round to reading it one day. That's the whole problem with this, isn't it? I've just shot myself in the foot. I mean, I'm sure I'll get round to ... is the problem with having a fantasy self. I don't know, maybe I'll get rid of it. But, you know, the reality is, rather than reading sort of these giant intellectual tomes, I prefer to read detective novels. So yes, and linked into that, I wanted to show you this here. Okay, hang on, this is going to take me a minute to pick up here. These are all my library books that I have checked out right now. I can't even hold them, there's so many. Do you want to know how many of these I've actually read in the month I've had them checked out? Two. I can't even count how many I have here. I can't even hold them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 20, I don't know. Fantasy me plows through books like, I don't even know an analogy. Fantasy me reads a lot. And the reality is, real me reads a couple books a month. One of my goals is to read more. But I'm never going to be someone that's going to read this many books in 1 month. And yet I check out this many books in a month. I don't know why I do it, but I do. I know why I do it, because Fantasy me doesn't surf on her phone endlessly. Fantasy me puts her phone down and picks up a book. So a lot of these books are going to go back to the library. Oh, I should mention, I just paid a $45 library fine the other week because the last set of books that I got out, I returned like a day or two late. And if you return them a day or two late, they incur a $2 a day fine at my library. And you'd think I would learn after that, but no, I checked out like another 20 books. So, oh my God, I can't even put these down. They're so heavy. Fantasy me reads 20 books a month. Real me reads maybe 4 books a month. And it's been hard to come to terms with, you know. I want to be somebody that can hold their own in a conversation, that can talk extensively about all the great books I've recently read. But the reality is, I'm busy. I don't have a lot of free time. I work a lot, and I'm just not going to be someone that's going to be reading 20 books a month. Okay, moving on. What have we got next here? Okay, oh, this is a good one. Fantasy me loves alcohol. Oh boy, Fantasy me loves alcohol. Never mind the fact that real me finds most alcohol to taste like battery acid. I grew up with 2 parents who were teetotalers. I never had alcohol growing up, never. When I say never, I mean never. I had my first ever sip of alcohol at 16 or 17, and I thought it tasted revolting. It was Newcastle Brown Ale. Thought it tasted revolting. Really didn't drink a lot until I was 19 and I went away to uni. And at uni, I drank extensively, mostly just to sort of fit in and to loosen myself up, because I'm very introverted, I'm very shy. And, you know, alcohol, it does what it says on the tin. I mean, if you want to get on the dance floor, you better be chugging a bunch of alcohol. So my flatmates and I, we would chug like 2-3 bottles of Lambrini Bianco, Lambrini Briosco, I can't even remember what it was called, you know, Baileys and Coke. And then we would go out on the town and we would have Bacardi Breezers. Now, I don't know if they sell Bacardi Breezers in America, because I don't buy alcohol anymore, but if they don't, the nearest equivalent would be Mike's Hard Lemonade. Right, so I went through my period of sort of drinking alcohol when I was a student, and then as soon as I graduated, I just stopped drinking alcohol because I wasn't going out clubbing anymore. I'd moved to a new country and, you know, didn't have that friend network that went out drinking all the time. Well, about 6 years ago, I was a preschool teacher, and they always have these sort of endless, you know, awesome teacher appreciation days, and the parents kind of get the teachers cool stuff to say thank you for teaching my child. And as part of that, we had to fill out a little form that they stuck on the wall, and it was just a list of questions about yourself as a teacher, so that the parents could get more of a feel for you as a person. And one of the questions was, what is your favorite drink? Now, living in Portland, Oregon, I just found that everywhere I went, everything was just really hoppy, really IPA, just really bitter, and tasted like stewed knitting to me. The one drink I found that was nice that I could get in most pubs was, you can't probably see this, let me see if I can come in, Framboise Lambic. It's a raspberry flavored Belgian beer, and it's one of the few beers out there that I find taste sweet. And this is probably a kind of a throwback from my student days, where all I would drink was Bacardi Breezes and Mike's Hard Lemonade and all that kind of stuff. So I only do sweet drinks. Well, I put down on the list that I liked Lambic, and lo and behold, I'm not even going to hold up all of them. I got like 6 bottles of this. Oh God, I can't even hold it. And this is just 2 of them. I'm not going to pull the other ones out. Okay. I was a preschool teacher 6 years ago, 6 years ago, and I still haven't opened a single one of these. I have not drunk a single one of these. I do not drink at home by myself. You know, I will drink socially sometimes, but I don't just sit at home and drink by myself. I don't really go to a lot of parties where I could kind of show up with one of these. It's just not the way my lifestyle is. And I have carted all of this alcohol. Again, I'm just holding up 2 because I only have 2 hands. I have carted all of this alcohol around now for, 6 years and 3, soon to be 4 different apartment moves. And I just, why? I have put it in free boxes and pulled it out again. And it all comes back to fantasy me. Fantasy me likes alcohol. She savors alcohol. She can drink alcohol, and she can pick out the top notes and the middle notes and just the hint of tar and the hint of cedar and the hint of tobacco or whatever. Real me thinks that most alcohol tastes revolting. It tastes like battery acid, and I would rather use it as drain cleaner. So I'm going to be getting rid of these. And that's just the Lambic. Let's not get into all the others. Here's another example I just pulled. This beautiful wine. It had a rainbow on it, so I bought it. Fantasy me. Okay, let me back up a little bit here. One of my best friends and I, we go hiking a lot. We do these really long hikes, 15, 16 miles, 6,000, 7,000 feet of elevation. When we get to the top, we always have a massive picnic. It's like a competition who can bring the most awesome stuff. And he always packs a couple of beers in a Ziploc bag full of ice. And so we get to the top, it's this hot July day, scorching day, and he pulls out a couple of beers, and we crack them open. And because I don't like the taste of beer, I'll just have a sip, and he knows that I'll just have a sip, and then he'll drink most of the rest. And Fantasy Me has always wanted to be able to join in this ritual with him, and so Fantasy Me bought this, whoops, and Fantasy Me took it on not 1 but 3 separate hikes, packed in a Ziploc bag full of ice, and didn't even bother cracking it open, because that's how much real me doesn't like alcohol. And my friend is like a huge IPA fan. He wouldn't touch this with a barge pole. So this has been lugged up and down mountains at least 3 times because Fantasy Me wants to drink it. Real me, no. So I don't really know what to do with alcohol. If any of you have any suggestions for where to donate alcohol, food banks don't typically take it. I don't really know what to do with it apart from putting it out on the curb. But yeah, Fantasy Me loves and savors alcohol. Real me can't stand it, which isn't such a bad thing. I mean, but you have to really own it. You have to really own not liking alcohol. It takes a lot of confidence and a lot of guts to show up to a pub where everyone is getting blind drunk and say, yeah, I'm not going to drink tonight. I don't really like the taste of alcohol. And what I found is that a lot of people, when you say you're not drinking, immediately they assume that there's a really dark reason why you don't drink. And they're, oh, I'm so sorry. Are you part of a 12-step program? And absolute respect to everyone who is, but I'm not. I just don't like the taste of it. Okay, what's next on the list? Oh, here's a good one. Okay, hang on. Just grab these. Okay. fantasy me has a garden. And in that garden, I have trees and I can hang bird feeders for hummingbirds and sparrows and finches. Yeah, fantasy me has a garden. Never mind the fact that I've pretty much lived entirely in studio and one-bedroom apartments that don't even have a balcony, let alone a garden, for most of my time in Portland. If you want a balcony in my city, you are going to be paying a premium of a good $500 because it is seen as a luxury extra. And I don't really want to pay $500 extra a month just to say that I have a balcony. But because I don't have a balcony, I can't feed the birds. And it makes me really sad. You know, fantasy me lives in a life and just lives in a world, I guess, really, where I had more money and I could afford a place that had a garden, a place where I could, you know, I don't have any seeds with me here, but when I used to go to the supermarket, I would buy packets of seeds, you know, wild bumblebee seed mix, wild honeybee seed mix, because I really believe in saving the bees. Never mind, I have nowhere to plant them. I actually would end up making seed bombs and throwing them on railway lines and stuff, which is an awesome thing you can do if you have seeds and you don't have anywhere to put them. But yeah, you know, it makes me really sad that I don't have a garden. Fantasy me lives in a place, even if it's just a small patio, they have a little green space. And real me, being poor, lives in studio apartments and doesn't have a green space. Actually one of the sadder ones, I think. You know, I think it's less superficial. I think it's a good goal to have a little garden and be able to feed the birds. All right, next up. Fantasy me is so organized. Oh my God, fantasy me is the most organized person you will ever meet. She is just on it. She has got a planner and it is filled in and it is color coded and it has got washi tape everywhere, and oh my God, all of her appointments are in there, and she's got this just crazy cool social life, and so she just needs a planner to like plan out her social life. Let me show you my planner here. What is it today? Okay, we'll start with January. The only thing I've got in January is a sticker that says payday, because apparently that's all that matters. And then we're going to flip through to February, which is where we are at now. February. I'm English, so I say February. If you say February, are you one of those people? Are you one of those people? Here we go, February. This is this week, February. Yeah, nothing. Fantasy me has a planner and uses it. Real me. Yeah. And this ties into so much else. You know, fantasy me has a social life. Fantasy me doesn't work all the time. Fantasy me has more of a work-life balance. Fantasy me lives in a city that has more opportunities to have a social life. And I've mentioned Portland in this video a couple of times. I don't currently live in Portland, Oregon. I live in a different city. That is really, I've really struggled to develop a kind of community of people and like a friendship group. It's been really hard. That's another topic, but yeah, fantasy me, this would actually be used, and it's going to be my goal to actually start filling this in. So I actually bought some washi tape the other day. We'll come back to that one and see how we're doing with that one. Okay, what have we got next? What have we got next here? Okay, I guess I'm going to call this beauty. Now, this channel is kind of about beauty, so this ties in quite nicely, but you know, for me, I guess fantasy me knows how to use beauty products. Fantasy me has a life that is conducive to wearing various beauty products, but the reality is I'm a hiker, I'm a runner, I'm a cyclist, I bike commute to work every day, I live in a state that's very outdoorsy, it rains a lot, and practicality really has to trump aesthetics. So I'm going to talk about this first thing here. This is, I put it in a bag because it's all about to fall out. Let me see if I can show you this. This is the Kiss Gel Fantasy Nails. Now, I decided around Halloween I was going to try fake nails for the first time. I've gotten one manicure ever in my life. I've never worn any kind of glue on nails, and I decided, let's bite the bullet, you know, let's try something new. I bought these glue on nails. I put them on for Halloween. I went to work. I work in the nursing field, and within about a quarter of a day, I'm talking 2 hours into my shift, half of them had pinged off, and it was actually really embarrassing. None of my patients saw, thank God, but it would have been really awful if they had. But I had to kind of hide my hands the whole rest of the day, and I was really worried about the rest. You know, every time I would put a blood pressure cuff on someone, I'd be really worried about another one like falling off. It's you know, it's not, aside from the fact it's just ridiculous, it's also just a huge hygiene issue, right? And my workplace, by the way, does let you wear fake nails. They let you wear nail polish, because a lot of the time you have gloves on, but there's other stuff that you're doing. Maybe you're out in the hallway where you don't have gloves on, and if you've just been manhandling your hands all shift, it doesn't matter whether you have gloves on or not. So yeah, I put these on. They are like literally a quarter of them fell off within my shift, and then after my shift we had like a conference kind of event thing that I had to stay, and you know, so the director of nursing was there, the administrators were there, and I just remember like holding my hands like this the whole time because I didn't want anyone to see my nails. I just had my hands clenched. I had them in my pockets. I would not take them out for anything. I remember at one point I had to sign something with a pen, and I just remember like trying to like sign it with a pen while keeping my hand clenched. It was really, and by the way, this was my, I think, second day or third day in this new job. So it was a disaster. So I did what any sensible person would do, and rather than writing it off, I went out to the supermarket and I spent way too much money on a bunch of, if you can see this, different nail glues. I got the Super Bond nail glue, I got the Brush On nail glue, I got the Maximum Speed nail glue, and none of them are cheap. And I tried them all, and no dice, the nails still fell off. So a day later, I basically ripped them all off, threw them in the bin. It's like, I'm done. This is going either in the donate pile, I guess in the trash, really, right? Fantasy me can pull off fake nails, and real me just can't. Real me does not have a lifestyle that lines up with fake nails, and I just have to accept that. What I've been trying for the first time ever in actually over the past 2 weeks is press-on nails. You can see those, and I've had a lot better luck with those. So all is not lost. The problem is press-on nails don't really have very good styles available. The range of styles is limited. I think that they tend to be a bit more tacky. It's my opinion. I think that the glue-on nails overall look to be a bit more classy looking, but you know, I can't do them, so they're gone. Similarly, also talking about beauty, you know, fantasy me would be able to wear wigs. This is a beautiful, kind of like, you can't really see, oh my god, it's like falling out. It's like a green Kylie Jenner with black roots wig. It's a cool costume wig, but you know, I certainly wouldn't wear this around every day. Now, plenty of people do wear these kind of wigs around every day, and they look awesome in them. You know, fantasy me would have the confidence to wear wigs. I've got this one, I've got this one here. This is a beautiful, it's kind of hard to see with the light shining here. It's like this barrel curl, kind of beautiful copper wig with roots. I've got another wig here, like a straight, it's actually like a very deep purple. It's not picking it up, but fantasy me would be able to wear all of these. You know, the reality is they've sat in my closet, and this is just 3. I've actually got a bunch more. I might do a wig try on video sometime, and maybe I'll re-fall in love with them. Maybe I'll fall in love with them again. You know, but for now, it's just not really something that's working with my lifestyle. Okay, fantasy me, I think I mentioned this earlier. Fantasy me isn't stuck in a phase of arrested development. And what I mean by that is, I mean, that could mean a lot of things. The thing that comes to mind for me is I'm an adult. I'm in my 30s, and I still can't swallow large tablets. You know, I work with patients every day who have to swallow large tablets, and they've tried to give me all kinds of advice. They're like, yeah, you better learn how to swallow them or the nurses are going to shove them up your arse. Just, you know, I mean, my patients are so funny. But I've had all this kind of advice, but the fundamental fact is I have a horrible gag reflex and I just can't swallow large pills. I've never been able to swallow large pills. As a child, my parents would try and get me to swallow large pills by kind of threatening me and then bribing me. I remember very clearly, you know, they would set a marathon bar, which was the British equivalent of a Snickers bar. They would set like a Snickers bar on the table in front of me and they would put the pills in front of me. They would say, if you eat those pills, you can have the marathon bar. And I would never be able to swallow the pills. No, it probably damaged me psychologically for life. I just went through a course of antibiotics for an ear infection, and I've had one course of antibiotics before in my life a couple of years ago too, and I picked up some probiotics here. This is, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this, it's something Boulardi, and this one is Gyrodophyllus. They're very, very good probiotics. They're recommended by a lot of doctors to kind of balance out the gut flora that's been completely decimated by the antibiotics who, you know, antibiotics aren't picky about what they destroy. They just destroy everything. But I want to show you, I just want to show you the size of these pills. This is not gonna, that is massive. There is no way I can swallow this. I have this horrible gag reflex. I can't swallow large pills. Yeah, fantasy me would just be able to be throwing these back like there's no tomorrow. I would be like the healthiest person on the planet, because we're not just talking about probiotics. You know, every medication that I've ever taken, every my antidepressant, for example, I'm supposed to take 30 pills. I actually have to take 60 pills. I take 2 of them a day because I can't swallow the large version of it, so I have to have the small version. Instead of taking these probiotic capsules, I have to take what is essentially, I mean, it's not labeled as such and it's not obviously marketed as such, but fundamentally it's children's vitamins. Okay, it's gummy vitamins, right? Vegan gummy vitamins. I'm in my 30s and I'm having children's vitamins because I can't swallow pills. Fantasy me would swallow pills all day long. I would be taking probiotics and magnesium and God knows what else, left, right and center, and I would be super healthy. And, you know, real me is still stuck taking Flintstones vitamins. Okay. We've got a couple more things there and then we're going to wrap up. I'm just going to come out of frame for a minute and grab something. Okay, here we go. Fantasy me. Parties. I don't know if I can fit this on. It's still tied on the back of this. I bought this for New Year's Eve. It says cheers, it's got a champagne bottle. I was going to wear it out. Guess what? I didn't even go out on New Year's Eve. Fantasy me goes out and parties and has a good time. Real me is an introvert who is extremely socially awkward and extremely socially anxious and struggles in real life situations. Unless I know there's a bunch of people that are going to be there that I know well. And I am living in a new city right now. I don't know a lot of people. And I was just so optimistic about going out and having a good time on New Year's Eve, and I ended up not going out because I am just an awkward introvert. So fantasy me goes out and parties and is just the life and soul of the party and is just super interesting and is just talking up a storm. And real me just stays at home a lot. I'm not proud of it. I you know, if it sounds like I'm proud of it, I'm not. I'm just acknowledging the reality. Fantasy me wears makeup. Fantasy me curls her lashes. Fantasy me wears lipstick. The biggest thing that I've always wanted to be able to do is pull off lipstick, and I have tried so many lipsticks and I don't know what it is about me, but lipstick never stays on. It immediately comes off and there's just a line left around my lips and it just looks awful. It looks like I've lined my lips and forgot to fill them in. You know, I eat non-stop, I drink non-stop, it doesn't stay. And yet I have this amnesia where every time I go to the supermarket to do my grocery shop, I swing by the cosmetics aisle and I buy yet more lipsticks. These are just the latest 3. Now the reason I only have 3 is because I threw the rest away. You know what I mean? I must have thrown away 75 lipsticks. Easily, that I bought, tried once, realized it didn't stay, and I've tried all the tricks. I've tried the, you know, you blot it with tissue paper and then you put another layer on and you dust it with powder and you do this and do that and it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't stay. And I'll go out on a date and I'll go to the bathroom and I'll realize half of the lipstick is like melted off my face and oh, it just, no. You know, fantasy me is someone that wears lipstick, whereas real me wears chapstick that you can scribble on like a crayon, basically. This is Burt's Bees, by the way. This is Burt's Bees tinted lip balm in the color Hibiscus. That's not going to show up, but anyway, yeah, real me can only wear chapstick like a child. And this has been a hard one to come to terms with, because so much of glowing up involves learning how to do makeup and just really putting on makeup that makes you feel good and that looks good and looks classy. And here I am stuck with like children's chapsticks, basically. But, you know, again, it's fantasy me versus real me. And I have to just accept the fact that real me can't do lipstick. Okay, I'm on to the last thing right now. Ooh, I want to have a Girl Scout cookie very quickly. I just bought a bunch from my co-worker whose granddaughter... My grandma, when she used to visit us in England, would bring us these, and oh my god, it's just... So nostalgic. Okay. Last thing. Fantasy me wears a lot of really pretty clothes. I've got a pile of them here. I'm going to show you just a couple if I can pull them out. Here's a dress. It's really hard to kind of see here. It's got this beautiful lace mesh, and it's this beautiful tea dress. I've worn this like twice. It was $169, I think, when I first bought it. And, you know, I've worn it twice. Both of the occasions that I wore it on, I felt like I was very stilted and stiff and just I didn't really feel comfortable or feel myself. And yet I've kept it. I wanted to dress like a mermaid one time. I got a mermaid dress. And again, it's just not really my style, but, you know, fantasy me dresses like a mermaid. Fantasy me wears black and dresses like a kind of a very chic goth. You know, real me wouldn't be seen dead in this. It's just not my style, but fantasy me, you know, wants to go to Burning Man wearing an awesome kind of gothic chic spaghetti strap dress. Fantasy me wears really cute underwear. I don't know if this is TMI, it's clean. You know, fantasy me wears cute underwear. Real me just pulls holes in it immediately and it just turns kind of a dingy grey after like 2 washes. I mean, this was supposed to be a cute baby doll pink. It's now just turned like grey because fantasy me washes her whites and darks separately and real me doesn't. You know, fantasy me, gosh, we could just go on and on. Fantasy me wears, you know, swimming costumes and bikinis, and real me hasn't gone swimming in a long time. Fantasy me dresses up in kind of cool outfits, like this. I'm going to butcher the name of it. It's a quinceañera. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Fantasy me wears dresses like this sometimes. Real me doesn't ever wear dresses like this. You know, I could go on. You know, fantasy me carries kind of chic bags. Now, I'm not saying this is a chic bag, but by my standards it is, that have straps, you know, whereas real me wears a backpack because straps dig into me and I bike everywhere, and just a handbag doesn't really work when you're biking. I could go on and on and on. I'm not going to. This video is already too long, but what I would say is that, you know, as I've embraced minimalism over the years, it's really taught me a lot about choosing my clothes and my hobbies, etc., just very, very carefully. You know, I just need to accept that whereas fantasy me is this and this and this and this, for real me, you know, practical is always going to trump aesthetics. Impressing people is never going to trump being myself. And I think the best barometer for me of whether I'm kind of indulging in my fantasy self or whether I am being true to myself is the kind of cost per use barometer, right? So, you know, whenever I buy something, how many times do I actually use it? As I look around at just this mountain of stuff that I have purchased that I have either never used or rarely used or used extensively for a week and then just never used again, you know, the thing that I just keep coming back to is I really need to think more about kind of cost per use of all the items that I purchase. And, you know, if I'm not using it frequently, I just need to accept the fact that it's an item that really is more in alignment with my fantasy self than my actual self. And I either need to be doing one of two things. I either need to be working more actively towards becoming the version of my fantasy self that I want to be, or I need to gracefully just accept the fact that this fantasy self is not the person I'm destined to be, and I need to respectfully say goodbye to that version of myself. And this video today is part of this. You know, I'm going to list some stuff on eBay, or Etsy, or maybe Craigslist, something like that. I'm going to donate just a mountain of stuff. I mean, a lot of this is going to go in the donate pile, and we're going to kind of have a little bit of a clean slate. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your time, and I will see you next time.